Welcome to this month's Recovery Today magazine interview. I am so honored you have made the time to join me and today's experts. We are bringing you some of the greatest transformational leaders and experts of our time in the field of addiction. Today, I'm so grateful to bring you Frankie Grande. He is a host, performer, producer, reality TV personality, and social media mogul. He became known to the world when he launched his successful YouTube channel in 2012 and more recently as a standout finalist on the hit CBS series Big Brother 16. Frankie followed that as a judge on the 2015 season of MTV's America's Best Dance Crew and as a house guest on Celebrity Big Brother in the UK. From 2016 to 2017, he co-hosted Style Code Live, an interactive fashion and shopping show that streamed live on Amazon.com. His guest starring roles on Nickelodeon's Henry Danger and Netflix Haters Back Off have shown that he continues to be a fan favorite. Frankie has also starred on Broadway as Franz in the closing cast of Rock of Ages and made his debut with the mega hit Mamma Mia. As a producer, he's worked with shows on Broadway, including Hamlet, La Bête or La Bête. You can correct me, Frankie. And Born Yesterday,
La Bête.
as well as
Yes.
at Feinstein, and his own one-man show, Livin' La Vida Grande. His philanthropic work includes co-founding the nonprofit arts organization Broadway in South Africa and working with Build On, for which he was awarded their Global Impact Award. And he's currently devoting much of his time and energy to supporting the Los Angeles LGBT Center. Frankie, what an honor it is to have you, and you are going to inspire so many people with this interview. And I always ask, my first question is always, with everything that's going on in your life, why would you take the time today on the streets of Manhattan to do this Recovery Today magazine interview?
Oh my goodness! Wow. First of all, that was such a fierce introduction. I'm excited to just be able to listen to that later. I was like, very well done, thank you. I was like, I did all that. That's so cool. Yeah. Why did I take the time out of today? Because this is extremely important to me. My sobriety and my recovery are gifts that have been they've given me everything that I have in my life today. Including the amazing relationships that I have with my friends and my family, the relationships that I thought I had lost and then were rebuilt, and then relationships that I have made in sobriety that have proven to be some of the best on the planet. So, of course, I'm here to talk to you about my recovery, and very grateful to do that because, hopefully there's somebody else out there who's listening and this can help them as well. I want to share my journey in order to help others who are struggling because, this is a disease that affects a lot of people. So I'm very happy to be here.
Well, thank you, Frankie. I know you will inspire and give hope to a lot of people and probably a lot of family members as well. One of the things I often ask when I have a high-profile person is there more scrutiny as a celebrity in recovery? Do you feel like the spotlight is on you, often, or, being part of a family of celebrities? I mean, what do you think about the fact that, recovery just, is there more shame, you think, being a celebrity?
Well, interestingly, I find that there is significantly less shame being a celebrity in recovery because I can back up all of my decisions, all of my actions. I'm never sloppy. I'm never late. Like everything, regardless of what I do out there, the scrutiny has always been there. That's part of the reason why I needed to be in recovery was because of the level of examination that I was constantly under. So there's a lot of shame and guilt when I was using and when I was under the influence of drugs and alcohol publicly. That was created shame and guilt. Being a sober celebrity is amazing. There is no shame and guilt. I will scream it from the rooftops. I scream it when I'm at bars. I scream it when I'm at club shows during my performances. I'm like, no, I'm sober. Do you want a shot? No, I'm sober. No, thank you. I'm sober. And it's very interesting to watch people react to that. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
They're like, what?
Yes, so what I'm hearing is that there might have been pressure being a celebrity that might have contributed to some of the Or maybe I'm hearing you say being in recovery actually has helped you deal with some of those past feelings when you were not in recovery. Like it's given you a way to live,
both
a structure.
of those things.
Yeah,
both of those things are true. I think being thrust into the celebrity spotlight, for me, I mean, let's be honest, it's degrees of severity, right? Like I believe I'm of the ilk that addiction is a genetic mental disease. So I have I believe I have a dopamine deficiency in my brain, and that dopamine deficiency was something that I had to deal with my whole life, and I just didn't know how. So when I discovered drugs and alcohol when I was around 24, I discovered that there was a quote easy way to jack up my dopamine in my system. What I found out down the road is that easy way became the hardest way, because once you do something, artificial chemical stimulants, it just becomes something that you have become dependent upon. So it's celebrity. So that's something that I've been dealing with my whole life. My whole life, before it was drugs and alcohol, it was achievement. I was an achievementaholic. If I didn't get the best grades and if I didn't get praise from my teachers and my family, then I wasn't happy. So that's how I could clock my addiction early on in life. And then introducing drugs and alcohol when I was 24, and then it got worse when I was thrust into the public spotlight after Big Brother. And I just didn't have the tools. I did not have the tool set to deal with all of that. Nothing was in place. And
that's
I have those tools now. It's so different.
I'm thinking the word people pleaser, codependency. I often say that underneath every addiction there is a degree of codependency, perfectionism, and fear. And so I think that's what you're speaking to. And I love what you say about the dopamine, not having enough dopamine in your system, because really sometimes what happens is the drugs and alcohol work for a minute, until they stop working, right? I mean, there is a need to self-medicate because your brain is an organ, right? It's like any other organ. And what's so amazing is that, you have found other ways. And I guess that would be my question. What are the other ways that you lift up your dopamine nowadays?
Well, I'm community and productivity. Those are the two things that jack up your dopamine faster than anything else. So I have a wonderful group of friends, and one of the things that I'm most blessed about in my recovery is that I didn't have to go making a completely new list of friends. When I decided to get clean and sober, my friends that have been with me for 10 years were like, we support this, we love you, we're here. And then many of them are not sober, but they support, but I have those friends, and I still can, I redeveloped those connections that I thought I had lost, which is beautiful. So I have those friends. I have my sober friends, and most importantly to me, I have my family. And in this sober, no shame, no guilt kind of world that I now live in, I come to all those people and I tell them when I am sad, I tell them when I'm angry, I tell them when I'm weak, I tell them when I'm vulnerable, and these are all things I would never have told anyone, because I decided to I was like, that means that if I show them that side of me, then I am a weak person, and then I can't fix myself, and therefore that is bad. And what that leads to is a pitiful self-demoralization where you just sit at home and try to self-medicate, and I could not get out of that loop. So now that I share the way I'm feeling all the time with everyone that all has 2 ears, my life has become so manageable, and beyond manageable, it's become glorious.
Oh, that's so beautiful, Frankie. I love that. And it sounds like you've done incredible work in it. I kind of heard a little bit of 12-step in there, so I'm wondering, is that what has been the program that's worked for you, or have you found other ways of maintaining sobriety? I mean, there's so many things today people are doing, yoga, Buddhism, all kinds of ways to get sober. 12-step, is the foundation. Is that what's helped you the most?
Yeah, my fellowship has really helped me. Like my group of people, it's so funny. I'm just gonna draw this analogy because I was doing it. I flip on my Pandora right before this interview, and it always speaks to me. My Pandora is like voodoo. It knows what I'm thinking, what I need, and it played The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, and that's exactly the way I feel about sobriety. This is an unexpected journey. I did not know I was going to take this road, but now that I am on it, I have me, but I have this group of people that travels with me throughout life that kind of, like, when I'm lacking in a certain department, they're right there to step in and help me through. This is, life is not a solo sport. Life is a team sport, and I have learned that tremendously in sobriety. In addition to that, yes, yes, I am Bilbo Baggins. I am the Hobbit.
Well, you really, I got to tell you, for someone who maybe had trouble expressing oneself in terms of, like you said, you were hiding behind the alcohol, whatever, you really do know how to express yourself well, and you really, it sounds like you've just learned how to call yourself out, when you're feeling something, like instead of, keeping it to yourself and stuffing it or feeling like if I share, I'm weak, you are calling yourself out loud, and it sounds like that's really, really helped you a lot.
Yeah, and I think what happened is I've always been someone who has done a beautiful job of expressing himself, like always, but what happened, what I found happened is that drugs and alcohol prevented me from getting access to that authenticity that is me, that makes Frankie who he is. And so in absence of getting access to that authenticity, I created a persona that I could always access. And, like, that was the Frankie that you were getting, but no more.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
You were getting that false facade, I often say, is what, addicts and alcoholics hide under.
Correct.
It's what you want people to see rather than who you really are. And what would you say to a teen or young adult who's dabbling in drugs and alcohol recreationally?
Okay, in my experience, recreational use and dabbling in drugs and alcohol is a slippery slope. And the only thing that I can say is I have a model in my head that's worked for me very well, right? Like, in a carnival, when you have a hammer and you swing the hammer and you ring the bell, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. When you do drugs and alcohol, you swing the hammer and you hit the bell, and this is how it jacks up dopamine or serotonin in your brain. But every time you do it, the bell goes higher and higher and higher, and it requires more and more and more to achieve that first time high. And you chase that high, in my opinion, in my brain. Hold on, we have an ambulance going by. Gotta love New York.
Yeah,
gotta love New York.
It's a very real interview.
Oh yeah, I love New York too. I'm just sitting on the street, literally sitting in the middle of the street right now on 23rd, just talking to you, which is awesome.
Totally cool.
With my Starbucks.
Totally good. I love it. I think that's what makes
so
it. That's what makes
in my
it more authentic. Go ahead.
Correct. Yeah. In my experience, you search your whole life to have that same high that you first had whenever you had started, or were in the beginning when you started dabbling in drugs and alcohol, and you start going through any length to achieve that again, and before you know it, in my opinion, in my life, before I knew it, I was completely out of control. I was crying on my bathroom floor, I was blacked out, and I had no ability to crawl out of that hole myself. I had no ability to do that. So, I just think when you're dabbling, you have to be extremely, extremely careful because, I did not successfully dabble. I was not a successful dabbler.
I love that. It's true. Basically, it just takes on a life of your own for some people, and that's what happened to you, and it's happened to many. And that, brings us to the next point of the opiate. What are your thoughts on why there is such a problem today? Why is it just so massive, in your opinion, or massive with young people?
Why is the opiate epidemic massive for young people.
Yeah, I mean, because you are
Man.
young, I'm wondering what your thoughts are.
My thoughts are that it's becoming accessible, very accessible. So we're gonna, like, people will seek out the most accessible solution. Quote, I'm putting that in very strong quotes. There is no solution in drugs and alcohol. I'm telling you that right now. I couldn't be clearer about that. But people are, when they're feeling a certain type of way, they're looking for the quickest, most accessible fix to their problem. And opioids are just so unbelievably available. I think more so now. I mean, the street versions of them are becoming more and more available. And that's just it. It's just a supply and demand situation, I believe, in my mind.
Do you think young people are struggling with different problems today? I mean, do you see that there's maybe different issues going on that makes people want to reach out for that instant gratification? I mean, what is so uncomfortable, do you think, for the young person today?
I think that the feelings that we like to use over are all the same. It's shame, it's guilt, it's fear, it's anxiety, it's depression. These are universal feelings that everyone feels. The external stimulants that are causing those feelings will change. And today we're living in a very stimulating environment, both politically and just socially, where we are dealing with a lot of stressors that I'm not going to say that people haven't dealt with before. I mean, we have been in very difficult political times before this one as well. But I think the stressors change, but the feelings don't change. It's the same feelings that we are trying to mask by using. So,
I agree. And
I feel like we're just same place, different time.
Yeah, well said. I mean, I agree. I think that the problems have always been there. It's just how we deal with them. I think also for addict alcoholics, sometimes there's trauma in the back and someone's background, and you know, a lot of what's going on today may be highly stimulating to them, you know, in a negative way, you know, so that may be part of the issue as well. What would you say to a family member whose loved one is still struggling? And do you have any thoughts about enabling? Were you enabled? Did your friends, family enable you? Or if you don't want to speak to that, do you feel like you can offer some hope? Because we have a lot of family members listening to this interview as well.
No, I was not enabled by anyone. I was leader. I was very much a leader. And again, no one saw the real problem behind me. So nobody knew what was going on. They knew I was different. They knew I wasn't the Frankie that they knew before, but nobody really knew why, and no one could put their finger on it. Because I'm good. I'm good at what I do, okay? Like, I am great at manipulation. Like, if you watch me play Big Brother, you know, if you watch me play Big Brother, you know I'm a genius. I'm a genius, and I can outsmart you around the corner and back in terms of manipulating and hiding my disease. I was great at it. So, you know, in that way, I was not enabled. I was the enabler to others, actually. Which was, you know, something that also, like, has been finding normality now that I am completely sober. The people that I enabled are like, now what? Like, what are you doing? Now that I've become, stepped out of the circle of enabling.
What I'm hearing you say is that you're a lot more conscious now, and so people that might take advantage of you or manipulate you, you're like, no, that's not going to work anymore. I'm here, I'm present, and, you know, again, it goes back to what I said earlier. Often that codependency just rears its ugly head under addiction. I mean, I was married to an addict, and it was the codependency that took him out, I think, more than the actual disease of addiction. It's very powerful. It's really powerful. You know, I think the next question
to a family. Well, I just want to talk back on the family member because I didn't really get to talk about that. If you're a family member and you see someone in your life taking, you know, this kind of a negative downward turn, you have to be there for them when they're ready to ask for help for you. It's in my particular situation, I am so blessed because I became willing to ask for help. And that's very hard. That as an addict, like it's very difficult to be able to find that level of humility in order to reach out for help. And that doesn't always happen to some people. And I don't have any experience with interventions or things of that nature. So maybe you can elaborate onto that for people that are listening and don't know how to do it. But I went through such a horrible trauma that I had nowhere else to go but to my family for help. And that was a gift that not everybody gets.
Well, I guess that would be the question I'd ask. You know, you don't have to go into any details, but what was that proverbial drama bottom? Like, what was it that, or how did you wake up to the notion that I need to get help?
Well, I went through just, my family and I went through such a horrific tragedy that it just was, I realized in that moment that I had no tools at all in my toolbox to handle it. I didn't have any ability other than drugs and alcohol. That's all I had, and it stopped working. So the drugs and alcohol stopped working. I had no tools, and there was nothing else for me to do but say, like, I need help. That's it. That's what I was left with. I was left with that one option. I need help or I'm going to die. Those were my two options. Either ask for help or just die. And that was, I really hope that for anyone listening, if you have been through a tragedy or if you've been through a trauma or ever just like thought there was absolutely no answer, know that there is a choice. You have a choice to accept it and die or to ask for help. And it's hard, but you can ask for help. And there will be people there.
Yeah, I love your brutal honesty, and what you said is so important because I do think there's probably someone out there listening going like, I don't know how to ask for help, and what I'm hearing you say is just ask for help. Like, don't be afraid. Yeah, it sounds like that's
don't be afraid that people will judge you for being broken. Like it's okay to be broken. It's okay to be human. We're all broken. Everyone's broken. Like, there's no such thing as fixed. So, just ask for help, and it's gonna be the best decision you've ever made in your entire life.
Oh, thank you, Frankie.
And then if you're not ready for a hotline, there are warm lines too. Like, we'll put all the information in there, things that people can call. But there are warm lines, even if you're just thinking, like, maybe one day I'm going to ask for help. You can take steps now before it gets to that thing. Like, I'm sharing where my bottom was in the hopes that anyone listening to this will never hit that. They'll catch themselves before you get to being on the floor of your bathroom crying in the dark, with no ability to, do anything. I hope you never get there because you're listening to me share and you're like, oh, okay, cool. I might be heading there, but I'm going to get help now. I don't need to do the research. I don't need to do research to find out if I'm going to die. How about I just listen to this and be like, okay, cool, I'm heading in that direction. Let me just ask right now.
I couldn't agree more. And then I would actually want to speak to the person maybe that's listening that already is in recovery, but maybe they're having this, stagnation of purpose. Like, why am I here? What is my purpose? How did you figure out, Frank, whether before Friday, after Friday, what was your purpose? How did you find what it was you wanted to do in the world?
Well, I've always wanted to share my message of shine bright like a Frankie, and when people throw shade, shine brighter. Live your life to your true, authentic self. Don't be afraid of other people's opinions. If this is who you are, then shine bright. Embrace that. And that message, which was extremely authentic when I began to preach it, got harder and harder for me to communicate when I was using. So now in sobriety, I have this unbelievable gift where I can communicate that message, which I knew that was my purpose on this planet a very long time ago. And now I can really do it with my entirety of soul, being, body, and purpose. And it's such a gift, and that's why I am here, and I will continue to do that. Y'all be yourselves, especially in these dark times with political pressures and societal pressures. Like, just be you. Find your chosen family. Find your network of support, and that will allow you to exist as your beautiful, perfect self every single day, and you're going to soar through this world.
Well said. You're amazing, Frankie. You're inspiring me. I'm going to get off this phone and I'm going to go shout out my purpose to the world. But I want to ask you before we close, what is next for you? What is next for Frankie?
What is next for me? I'm going to continue doing that, living my life to my fullest. I have many, many projects lined up, which is great. And but foremost, in order for me to do all these amazing things, reality TV shows lined up, hosting, I'm returning to the stage. Just lots of stuff is going on in my life. I got to put my sobriety first. Yeah. Because if sobriety is not first, everything upon which, if sobriety is like a pyramid upon which everything sits in my entire life, friends, family, job, purpose, being, if that sobriety gets kicked out of the bottom, then everything that's stacked on top of it will completely shatter and fall. So I need to put my sobriety first and keep it first. And luckily I have a wonderful group of support that will help me do that. And then you'll see. Follow all my social medias. You'll see all the things I'm doing. I'm conquering the world one Instagram post at a time.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how can people find you? Is it at Frankie Grande?
At Frankie J. Grande. My middle name is James. Frankie J. Grande on every social platform: YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and you can find me that way on Facebook as well.
Okay. Well, Frankie, thank you for your time today. Thank you for this amazing interview. You're a rock star on every level. And thanks for an amazing interview on Recovery Today magazine.